A small team of Joes infiltrates Cobra Island, where they witness Serpentor's latest Ravanche purchase in his gear up for war against Springfield. Are they going to get captured? Are they going to report the news back? Let's find out in our review of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 307. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 307. Before we get started talking about this issue, let's recap what happened in issue number 306. Serpentor's plans to double-cross everyone, including Ravanche and Destro, started to bear fruit. However, Serpentor's schemes against Destro didn't go completely undiscovered, leading to multiple plots to feed the leader false information. Meanwhile, Dawn Moreno's parents met a violent end when they tried to leave Springfield at a traffic stop. That takes us to G.I. Joe, Real American Hero number 307. We begin with Serpentor taking delivery of a Ravanche long-range stealth bomber customized to Serpentor's specifications. The team of Joes that parachuted onto Cobra Island at the end of the last issue recorded the transaction and reported their findings back to the pit. The satellite signal that they used to send the information back to the pit is detected by one of Serpentor's mutant soldiers. The leader orders his men to track down and capture the intruders alive so he can interrogate them personally. Meanwhile, Duke requests a meeting with Dawn Moreno to deliver some bad news. The Joes who monitor communication in Springfield received word that Dawn's parents were killed in a traffic stop. All Joes present lend their support to Dawn in her time of grief and to let her know that she's not alone if she ever needs to talk. Back on Cobra Island, the infiltration team narrowly escaped capture by Serpentor's forces. Since their enemies have been ordered to take them alive, that order doesn't apply to the Joes, and that gives them a little bit of an edge in hand-to-hand combat, especially when the mechanized soldiers are vulnerable in their visual receptors. So they start stabbing and shooting them through the eyes, which is great because their armor is pretty impenetrable. The Joes then take up all the vehicles that they can steal, and they head down to the beach for a place to hide and hopefully hold up long enough for a rescue. In Scotland, Destro is spending some quality time with Baroness and Zartan, doing skeet shooting and just chit-chatting and relaxing as they discuss their plans in their new partnership. One of Destro's lieutenants interrupts the discussion to deliver a private message that is for Destro's ears only. When they step aside to a private location to hear the message, the lieutenant reveals himself to be the true Zartan, and that the Zartan that Destro has been dealing with is a fake, a secret that Destro actually already knows. The issue concludes with the Joe infiltration team on Cobra Island narrowly evading capture, but their success is very short-lived when a pair of upgraded bats who are dressed in suit coats and bow ties, strange enough, are airdropped onto the beach, and then the Joe team is pretty much captured almost immediately by the upgraded bats. That's it. That's the issue. Movement in all directions. So let's start with the character work to talk about how we did there. The issue really packs multiple characters and multiple fronts because of surprises or twists or turns that forces the characters to react. Dawn Moreno is shocked to learn her parents are dead, and we now have to wonder whether or not she's able to carry on with her mission and obey orders and remain objective in the face of impending war. The Joes learn that Serpentor is acquiring long-range stealth bombers, confirming that he is planning to attack Springfield. And so now the Joes have to consider their actions against Serpentor, their plans, their strategizing, and now they have to consider, okay, now do we have to change up our plans, and how are we going to react to this new information? And then lastly, the infiltration team is discovered and captured, which put pressure on Duke. Now, can he afford to divert some Joe team members to mount up a rescue mission to attack Cobra Island, knowing that they'll be outgunned and outmanned with Serpentor's forces now enhanced by bats and Ravanche tech? We'll find out. But now Duke has to react to that pressure in some capacity. Let's move over to talk about the arc. We have Paul Pelletier and Tony Cordos doing double duty on pencils and inks. The lines are sharp, crisp. The action is well done, and the visuals overall are very good, which should make any G.I. Joe fan happy. It's different than we've become used to from Chris Mooneyham, whose artwork is much darker, grittier, more dramatic lines, more dramatic shadows, very deep hatching, very strong hatching. So it's a very different art style. That's not to say it's bad, but it's a different aesthetic than you're used to from Chris Mooneyham. Now, we don't know if Mooneyham is coming back or not, but if he is, this art style is a little bit more in keeping with what you would expect out of the big two, say Marvel and DC. It's kind of a standard comic house style type art. It's not bad at all, but just be prepared that it's a little bit different. Let's move over to pacing and structure. I mean, when you see Larry Hama, that's pretty much synonymous with G.I. Joe comics. So there's no question that he gets all the jargon right. He gets all the characters right, all the assortment of characters and military actions and the vehicles. Everything is exactly on point and perfect as you expect. The construction that of Serpentor's plot makes sense, and you get a lot of I would say accuracy and authenticity, as much as you can expect of a G.I. Joe comic about a terrorist organization that's patterned after snakes. I mean, you can only get so authentic with that. That said, when you get into the minutia of reconnaissance, arms purchasing, all the logistics of gearing up for war, it may get a little bit too focused on folks that are really into the military aspects of G.I. Joe. That's not to say a casual reader is not going to like this. Casual readers are absolutely going to like this if they so choose. But Hama is really speaking directly to G.I. Joe fans, and almost exclusively to G.I. Joe fans. So if you're a casual reader or a new reader, you might feel that it takes a little work to get into the comic a bit. Switching over to themes and thematic exploration, basically this is all about competing military forces gearing up for war. It's all about the machinations of what you got to do to prepare. It's all about the intrigue, the reconnaissance, the spycraft, and all the bits and pieces of two military forces jockeying for position to get ready to strike. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. If you're wondering, where does this series fit in the interconnected Energon universe that Skybound and Image Comics are publishing? The answer is it doesn't. This is a strict continuation of the mainline G.I. Joe comic. It has nothing to do with Energon, nothing to do with Transformers. Consider it a separate universe or a separate timeline. So if you're waiting for Optimus Prime to show up, it ain't going to happen. This is true blue, solely and specifically only about G.I. Joe. Nothing to do with Energon or Transformers. Final thoughts, what do we think about this issue? It's a solid entry in the series. It mixes military action, twists and turns, shifting alliances, and a lot of kind of double-dealing developments in the face of Serpentor's deceptions. The art team turned in a great set of visuals. It's different than Chris Mooneyham, but not in a bad way. It's just different. And so it lacks a little bit of the unique Mooneyham style, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. And overall, it looks good. Larry Hama's script is as authentic a G.I. Joe experience as you can get, but it's super hyper focused on exclusively for G.I. Joe fans, which may mean that casual readers have to do a little bit of extra legwork to get into it. Therefore, we're going to give G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero number 307 from Image Comics and Skybound, an 8.5 out of 10. Let us know what you think in the comments. Are you more inclined to like the standalone G.I. Joe series, or do you like the interconnected Energon titles that are going on right now? Like, for example, today we had the release of the Destro miniseries. Let us know your thoughts on which you like better. And if you like G.I. Joe in general, just give us a thumbs up to let us know that you enjoy it. And then we'll see where it goes from there. So thank you very much for joining. And please stay tuned through the outro for the next review.